All right. Speaking of hidden gems and speaking of restaurants and hotels, we're talking about restaurants today. Okay. How many of you read about something in the book that were really surprised about restaurants? Something you maybe didn't think about before? Yeah. So things that you don't think about a general manager or different leadership within the restaurant actually have to deal with. You think about it's probably you probably just thought it was mostly about producing food, but there's a lot of administrative stuff, a lot of business stuff that happens on the back end as well. I'm sure Anne Marie can tell us all about those administrative tasks, owning a food truck. But it's really important to recognize, and that's one reason why I like the way that our degree programs are developed because you get the culinary side, you get the food production and the baking, but you also have the management side. You have management leadership, you have food and beverage cost control. So you have those business type classes that help you because you could be the most amazing chef, you have the most amazing recipes, but if you can't cost your stuff effectively, if you can't manage your finances, you're not going to be in business very long. Okay. If you don't understand legal issues that come up, then you might put yourself in a situation where you could be sued and then you could have no more company. So there's lots of different things. That's why you take those leadership, those management classes in addition to the culinary and the cooking classes. All right, anything else? Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Those sections are really important. And that's why, too, sometimes when you have to put two tables together to make a larger party, okay, whose server is going to get that? Are they going to share that, or this person can get it this time and this person get it next time? Right. And then we also had, let me see if I can do um, it here. Let's see, let's go with white. So it'll be a little bit easier to see. So, for example, let's say when I was working at TGI Fridays, speaking of that section, okay, so if I had a dining room that looked like this, okay, I'm gonna create it one more time, two more times. So, this is my floor plan right here. I may have a floor plan where it has four different sections. So, section one, section two, section three, and section four. And then I may have a floor plan where I only have three sections. So, section one, section two, section three. All right. So, you can see how these two tables stay with section two, but section two absorbs some of these tables over here, right? And so then I may have a section where I only have two servers, one and two. And so I have those floor plans. Usually they're color coded. Um, and so there's a notebook up at the front, and when the manager says, "Okay, we're going to go down to a team of two," I don't have to wonder whose table is whose. I go to that floor plan, and if I'm in section three and section four, guess what? I'm going home because section three and section four are going away. Section one and two are staying. Okay. Or I might say I only need two people to stay. And if I'm in section two and I got to get home because I'm paying a babysitter and I'd rather get them home so I don't have to pay them in another hour or two, then I may opt to leave. And then whoever that new section is, that next person, they know exactly which tables are theirs. Right. And so that is really, there's a design behind that. And if you don't have that, you run into the situation where guests get lost. right? So especially during a shift change or when there's a floor plan change, if you don't have this, a guest could be sitting at a table and nobody knows who their server is. And then that guest sits there for what seems like forever. It's maybe 5, 10 minutes, but that seems like an eternity. And then they get up and leave and they put a negative post on social media and all these things, right? So try to avoid all of that. Have a floor plan. And that way there's no discrepancy. This is okay. This is great. This is what I'm going to go down to. I'm going to cut my floor down to 2 servers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. I would say yes. But I would also caveat that with they should start with the women at the table. So they could go in the order, but they may be asking the women at the table for proper etiquette and then go back and ask the gentlemen. So they might do that. Or they may start with one person, right? They may ask who's ready to order and whoever that one person is, and then they typically do go in a clockwise motion. So that way the order is taken in order. Yeah, in order of seat numbers. And y'all will learn this. Anybody taken the 1898 class, the Chef 1300 yet? Okay. So in that you have seat numbers, right? Have y'all worked the front of the house yet? So there we have seat numbers, because why do we have seat numbers at the table? So with that, so we know whose meal belongs to who, because otherwise we do what's called auctioning off the food. Okay, we don't want to auction off the food. Who had the mac and cheese? Right? No, I want to know that the mac and cheese goes to seat number one and the cheeseburger goes to seat number two. I don't want to have to ask. I should know where it belongs based on the ticket. Okay. So that's why we do that. So we have those seat numbers. And it's something that's like a subconscious thing, but that level of service, if you don't have to auction off the food, that shows an attention to detail, and it allows you as a guest to maybe understand, okay, well, these people really got their act together. Yep. All right. Cool. What else? Good conversation so far. Yeah, go ahead, Amaya. Yeah, absolutely. Also, too, like especially like tourist attractions like the San Antonio Riverwalk, oftentimes the restaurants will have their menu posted outside. So that way, as you're walking, you can get an idea. Okay, is the price point what I'm willing to spend? Do they have the food items that I'm looking for? If I'm a vegetarian, do they have a vegetarian option? Okay, and so you can see that menu in advance. Absolutely. And then I know for me, just because I have been a server in the past, if there is like a 45-minute wait, I will usually ask for a menu. And then that way, when we sit down, we already know what we want to order. We don't have to think about that. There was somewhere recently, where was I? Oh my gosh. And I saw a hand over here. I'll come back to it in just a second. Hold on to your question. Um, where was I? Oh, when I was in the Philippines, we went to this restaurant in Manila. It was like in a shopping mall area, right? It was a restaurant that was attached to a shopping mall, and it was about a 45-minute wait. And so the people from the university that were kind of our handlers, if you will, the ones that were helping us get around, and they would speak Filipino, so we could be ignorant Americans and only speak English. Uh, but they placed our full order. So the hostess actually took the full order so that when our table was ready, they just gave the order to the chef. And I was like, that is brilliant. I never thought about that. If you could, as a hostess, take that order if they know what they want, then you just, as soon as that table is ready, you put that ticket in and they start working on the food right then and there. That saved so much time. With that, I thought it was such an incredible, brilliant idea. Yes. Yeah. So, like when you, okay, so when we sit down at a restaurant, right? The first thing the server comes up, what's the first thing they do? They introduce themselves and they usually ask for what first? Beverages first, okay? And then they go and get the beverages. And then when they bring the beverages back, they ask, are y'all ready to order? Do you need a few more minutes, right? Do you need a little bit more time? You're ready to order? Let me go ahead and take your order for you, okay? And then they take that order and they go put it in the computer, and then the kitchen starts working on that. Well, in this situation, the hostess had actually filled out the ticket, and so when the hostess sat us at the table, they put the ticket into the kitchen. So then the server came in and asked us for our beverages. And as soon as they brought the beverages, very shortly after that, the food started coming out because it was already in the kitchen based on the ticket that the hostess had taken. I thought it was a really cool way to expedite the process. So the hostess actually, the people that were from the university, they ordered with the hostess. So they had a menu and they said, we want this, 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 and this. And so the hostess wrote it down on a ticket and gave that to the kitchen. As soon as our table was, as we were walking to our table, the hostess just continued on and dropped our ticket off at the kitchen. So they started working on the food right then and there versus that 10 minutes or so that it took the server to get our drinks, come back, take our order, and then go back. Now, that only works if people know what they want to eat. Okay. So it only works in that regard. But I mean, could you implement that where, okay, it's going to be a 45-minute wait. Here's a menu. If you like to look at it, if you know what you'd like, go ahead and come back and let me know. And then I can let your server know as soon as you sit down that your order is ready to go. That could easily expedite some time. It does take away the opportunity for someone to share about specials. It does to upsell maybe appetizers, things like that, but it speeds up that service time. I saw a hand over here a moment ago. Did you have a still comment or question? Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about celebrity restaurants here in just a few moments as one of the categories of restaurants. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. I think yes, there is a phenomenon called tipping fatigue. Okay. Is anybody not familiar with tipping fatigue? Okay. So traditionally, let's think back maybe pre-pandemic. Okay. Pre-pandemic, who did you when did you tip when you went out to eat? A server, right? And that was pretty much it. You would tip when you went out to eat at a restaurant, sit down, you tip. Now, I mean, you would occasionally maybe tip your barista at Starbucks, but now tipping fatigue refers to the fact that everybody's asking for a tip. When you swipe that credit card, here comes the screen, turns around, and the first question is, how much do you want to leave as a tip? Right? And even to the point where there's some professions that it's like, why am I tipping you? Right? It's customer service, but like you're not not a restaurant. It's not a coffee shop. It's a place that you maybe don't necessarily consider a place that you would normally tip somebody, right? And so that idea of tipping fatigue is coming out. And then also, there are some restaurants that actually recently have stopped doing that. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, and I can't think of one, but there was one recently within the last month or so I visited, and I expected to leave a tip, but they didn't even give me the option to leave a tip because they just swiped and then I went on. So it was really interesting. But yeah, try to let's see if I can pick my words. Who does tipping help? It helps the server. Who else does it help? Not necessarily the back of the house, because, well, okay, now here's the thing. That's where some people are like, okay, here's a kitchen fee of 2%, and that's gonna go to pay the staff in the kitchen, right? Some people are really upset about that. I've seen that on some receipts. Um, in reality, tipping helps the business. Okay. In reality, tipping helps the business because the business is paying $2.13 an hour to a server. Tradition, that's the minimum wage for servers. Doesn't mean that's what they're going to get paid, but $2.13 an hour to the server. And then if you don't tip, the business has to make up the difference of 725 or 750. What is it, 725 minimum wage? Okay. The business has to make up the difference. Nobody ever is working for less than minimum wage. Okay. And so the next time you see some sob story like this person didn't tip me and how do I work for $2.13 an hour, you can be like, Mr. Uminski says nobody works for $2.13 an hour. Okay. Nobody works for $2.13 an hour because if the $2.13 per hour and the tips that server made does not come out to $7.25 an hour, the business has to pay the difference. So by tipping, we are actually helping the business, and we are helping the servers too, don't get me wrong, but we are helping the business because labor is one of the largest expenses in operating a restaurant. Okay. Now, that person who's a sob story, like I'm only making $2.13 an hour. If we think about last night and they walked out with $80 on a 6-hour shift, what is 80 divided by 6? I should have picked an easier number. Somebody give me $80. 80 divided by 6. You guys got calculators on your phones? 13.3? Okay, so $13.33 plus $2.13. That person's actually making $15 an hour. They're not complaining then, right? So yes, when you get a 0 tip, does it hurt? Yes, it does. Because you as a server, it's like, hey, I worked really hard and somebody doesn't recognize me with that tip. But in reality, when we tip, we are actually helping the business in addition to that server. Because we're basically limiting the financial liability or responsibility of paying that person minimum wage. But people definitely work that. I also did recently, I attended a webinar last week. Yeah, last week I attended a webinar about the new legislation that passed the US Senate that has to do with your taxes, where there's no tax on tips or overtime. So that actually is signed into law, that tax bill. And so it is retroactive to January 1st of 2025. I did not realize that. It was retroactive. Even though it was signed in July, it actually applies to everything that somebody earned from January 1st for this entire year of 2025. That means that if somebody makes less than $25,000 in tips, they don't pay any taxes on that $25,000. Whereas before, they had to pay taxes on the tips. That also helps the employers. How does that help the employers? Anybody? No? So it's actually more write-off. So I don't know if you're aware of this. You know, when you look at your paycheck and your taxes, like your FICA taxes, right? Those taxes that you see, that is actually only half of your responsibility, your tax responsibility. Your employer pays the other half of those taxes. And so if you are not being taxed on your tips, that means your employer is also not paying those taxes on those tips. So it really helped overall that. I also did learn during that webinar that the overtime, let's say you get paid $10 an hour, right? Overtime is usually what? Time and a half? So if you were working overtime, that means you get paid $15 an hour. Your taxes, the no tax on overtime only applies to that $5 over the 10, like, so your normal pay is $10, right? And if you're getting paid overtime, you're still paying taxes on that normal hourly rate of $10. You're just not being taxed on that extra $5. Um, and that's a certain, up to a certain, I want to say it was $35,000. So, I mean, it takes a while to get $35,000 on overtime, but you're not, again, you're saving on that taxes. And again, it also helps save on the employers as well. Um, that was a weird tangent. I don't know how we got off to that, but um, yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. If I was a server, man. All right. Anything else about restaurants before we jump into the PowerPoint? We talked a little bit about stuff in the PowerPoint already. Anybody else? All right. So if someone said, "What is your favorite restaurant?" If someone asked you, "What's your favorite restaurant?" How would you respond to that? What's that? Okay. So what place would you give them? However you interpret it. Raising Cane's? Okay. Awesome. Cool. What else? Anybody else? Go ahead, Mir. Applebee's. Okay. Good. What's it called? Avenuto? Avenito. Oh yeah, yeah. It's like one of those Brazilian steakhouses. Yeah, yeah. Nice. I ate at one in Houston in the Woodlands area for New Year's Eve a couple years ago. It was good. Really good. I like those Brazilian steakhouses. All the meats. Don't waste room on the salad bar. Yeah. Manchouchou. Oh my gosh, that's such a good restaurant. It's in the Pearl. It's a French restaurant. Um, Yeah, it's Monchechou is great French food. They have an appetizer called raclette. It's a raclette cheese. So basically, what they do is they take a wheel of cheese, okay, and they put it on the griddle so it heats about half an inch of the cheese, and then they bring the raclette to the table and they scrape it off the melted cheese onto like a baguette. Oh, it's so good. Melted cheese. Oh, yeah. If you go to Monchechou, you've got to have the raclette. It's so good. I just got chills actually. Oh my gosh. Uh, anybody else? Any favorite restaurants? So we have French food. We have Applebee's, which is casual dining. We have Raising Cane's, which is quick service. Good. What else? Yes. Okay. Wingstop. Yes. Awesome. Do they still have like their deals on Mondays or something where it's like $1 wings? I used to go there all the time. I like their French fries. I don't know what it is about the seasoning. There's something sweet in their seasoning. Oh, is it sugar? Okay, that makes sense. All right. What else? Anybody else? Uh-huh. Carrabba's, yes, absolutely. It's over there like on I-10, Carrabba's Italian Grill. That's a great Italian restaurant. Yes. Perfect Tender. Okay. I'll have to check it out. Perfect Tender. Is it perfect? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Excellent. There is a place right over here. It used to be right here on the corner at the gas station. It's called Anthony's Chicken. Then the gas station burned, which is unfortunate. But they moved over to this gas station down here on Commerce Street. I can't remember the name of it. It's just this next gas station down. It's in the corner. It's not as good as it was when it was right here, but it still is pretty good chicken. Chicken tenders. I thought it was pretty tasty. So sometimes if someone asks, what's your favorite restaurant or where do I recommend going? You might ask them, what kind of food are they interested in, right? So we have Italian, we had French, we had chicken tenders, we had fast food, there's pizza, there's burgers, right? There's so many different types of places. I remember growing up, we didn't go out to eat very often because I'm one of 7 kids and that was really expensive. But I just remember there didn't seem to be as many restaurants as there are today. Even sometimes like quick service you've got a Whataburger here, and then you got a Whataburger like 2 exits down the road. And you're like, do we really need to have 2 Whataburgers that close to each other? Yes, we do, right? We talk about the market analysis, and oftentimes we'll figure out what the zip codes people are coming through. And so maybe there's a zip code that's lacking our restaurant, so we got to put one over there in that particular zip code. So let's talk about restaurants. So different categories, independent versus chain. Okay. So we talked about Raising Cane's. Is that a chain or an independent? The chain. What about Applebee's? Chain. What about Perfect Tender? Independent. Okay. So we can categorize them whether they're a chain or an independent. We'll talk about the benefits of franchises and chains in just a moment on a future slide. But we can also look at the different type of service. So quick service is also known as fast food. In our industry, we like to change the terminology to make it sound a little bit more appealing, right? This is quick service, it's not fast food. And so, quick service is going to be what we consider to be a fast food. Typically, during quick service, there's going to be some kind of counter ordering process. So, you order at the counter, and then your food is either brought out to you or the food, your name is called out, and you go up and pick up your own food in that fast food. Or there might be what? What other feature of a quick service fast food? You might have a drive-through as well. Okay. Casual dining might be something like Chili's or Applebee's. Okay. So then we even have like fast casual, where I would say maybe something like Chester's Hamburgers would be considered a fast casual restaurant. If you're not familiar with Chester's Hamburgers, typically you place your order, they make the food, they'll call your name out, you can come pick it up. Okay. I often think about quick service as like your food's in a bag or your food's in a box. Okay. And then fine dining. What would be an example of fine dining? Manchushu would definitely be an example of fine dining. Papados, yep. I would say Papados is I would say Papados would maybe be like full service, maybe not quite fine dining, but it is definitely an elevated dining experience. Typically, with fine dining, you're going to say linen on the table. Your silverware might be laid out for you, or your silverware is going to be brought out in between courses. So, like when your salad comes out, before your salad hits the table, the server will have a salad fork, right? There may be 3 or 4 of us at a table. If some of us have soup, some of us have salad, then that fork or that spoon is going to hit the table before our meal is. And then once that's cleared, then if someone's having fish, maybe they're going to have a fish knife in their entree fork. Maybe someone is having a serrated knife with their steak. So there's a fine dining restaurant that I went to. I had a great opportunity to experience. It's called Isidore. Um, yeah, at Pullman Market, yes. And so Isidore is really cool. It had a prefixed menu, right? So you can order off the menu a la carte, but you could also order like a 4-course menu tasting. And so for the protein, it was a steak. And so they brought out this selection of steak knives. and they were all different, like antler bone, and they're like really kind of fun, funky knives. And you got to like pick your knife that you wanted to eat with. I thought it was a really cool interactive thing that I'd never experienced before. So fine dining, there's really the attention on the service, on the attention to the detail in the service. All right. So, what are some benefits of being an independent restaurant owner? How many of you want to own a restaurant? Anybody want to own a restaurant? Okay. Awesome. Love it. So, what are some of the benefits of being your own boss? Yes, go ahead. You get to select your own menu. You get to create your own menu. What's that? You get to set your own schedule. Okay, good. Yes. Absolutely. You can definitely be as creative as you want. Pick the hours of operations. You are your own boss. You can design what the restaurant looks like, the decor, the seating, what plateware you're going to use, what glassware you're going to use, the silverware. You get to design all those concepts. Okay. Now there are restaurant consultants that will help you. So a friend of mine, for example, she works for Trimark and they sell restaurant supplies. And so her responsibility as a sales rep is to go into her clients' restaurants. This is also where her networking comes into play because if she's involved and she knows this chef is going to open this new restaurant and this chef knows her because of all these different networking events, she may have an opportunity to bid on all the glassware, all the plateware, all the silverware that chef is going to use in their restaurant. That's a pretty big piece of business, right? And so oftentimes what she'll do is because she has a background in culinary, she was a personal home chef. Because she has a background in culinary, the chef can tell her, okay, this is my idea. This is how my plating, I think I want to do this. And then she can go to their catalog and say, look, I have this plate that is specific for this dish, and this will help highlight that dish. And by the way, this plate is $25 a plate. And you need how many plates, right? How many can I order for you? So that's actually a job where you are a consultant and you're helping those chefs make that because the plating, remember, we eat with our eyes first. So that plating and the silverware and the glassware, that sets the tone for everything. So that's a really cool job. And you have to have a culinary background and experience that helps you be better at selling those particular items. What are some risks about an independent ownership? You could fail. What's that? Less funding, right? The funding comes from you or your investors, okay? But it primarily comes from you. Yeah. You got to get your name out there, right? We don't have that brand recognition versus chains or franchise. If you buy a McDonald's chain or a McDonald's franchise, you're purchasing the McDonald's name and people know what McDonald's is. Okay. One of my high school teachers, my history teacher from my junior year, um, back in the day, the McDonald's logo, when you saw the McDonald's sign on the highway, it was the golden arches. And then in that red section, it said McDonald's. And then under that, it said billions and billions served. Right. So it's this big, giant sign, and billions and billions served means, okay, it's really popular. You can trust us. The food is good. People have come to us. Right. And he made this comment. He said, someday they're going to drop the billions and billions served. He's like, and then one day they're going to drop McDonald's because there's going to be such a brand recognition that when you see the golden arches, you don't need it to say McDonald's in that red section. You just know that it's McDonald's. I thought that was in 1999. That was 26 years ago. And now when you drive down the highway, you just see the golden arches and you know it's McDonald's. You don't have to see McDonald's to know that it's a McDonald's restaurant. So that was really interesting. With that independent stuff, though, you are on the hook. Okay. You don't have that brand recognition. So it does take time and a lot of effort to get your name out there. Outback Steakhouse. So Outback Steakhouse was really creative because they thought, you know what? We can offer a steakhouse environment, but we can offer it at a more affordable price point. So we can get creative because usually when you go out to eat for a steak, I remember the first time I went, I got a $40 gift certificate to what's the place up in the Stone Oak area? I want to say it's called Perry's, but that's not right. Um, anyways, Kirby's Steakhouse. I got a $40 gift card for Kirby Steakhouse, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to the symphony. I'm gonna take my date, and we're gonna go and have some steak beforehand. That was my first time ever going to a prime steakhouse. I did not realize that that $40 was going to get 2/3 of one steak. Okay. I'm like, man, if they're giving me $40, that's gonna go up. No. So luckily, I was a college student at the same time. So luckily, I had just paid my credit card bill, so I didn't have any embarrassment, right? And I had available credit, just enough. We each had a steak, we each ordered a side, and we each had a glass of wine. After the $40 was applied, it was still about $160. And I was like, oh, so this is a prime steakhouse. That's with no dessert. Yes. That's a prime steakhouse. Woo! Right? You're paying $45, $50, $60 for just the steak. Outback comes in and says, you know what? Let's provide this kind of fast casual, not quick service, because that's fast food, but kind of fast casual dining, but still provide steak. Maybe we're not offering prime steak. Maybe we're doing USDA choice or USDA select, right? If I'm a prime steakhouse, I better be serving USDA prime steaks. And you're paying the price for that quality. And so the steaks are still pretty good, pretty decent, but then they also have a variety of other things that they're known for. What is Outback known for? With the onion blossom, the bloomin' onion, right? So they are known for that particular appetizer. Um, but they also paved the way and opened the door for what are some other examples of kind of fast casual steakhouses? What's that? So Chili's might have a steak on their menu, but think about like a restaurant that focuses on steaks. Longhorn Steakhouse. Okay. Texas Roadhouse, maybe Saltgrass Steakhouse, right? So they'll even under the Landry's brand, so Landry's Restaurant Group has Saltgrass Steakhouse. They also have what's that one? That's Morton's Steakhouse, the Chart House, and they also have Brennan's. Starts with the BRE. I don't remember how it ends. There's also one on the Riverwalk as well. But they own, that's all Landry's company, but just different levels of steakhouses. Think about it like with hotels, how Marriott has the Marriott and the JW, but they also have the Fairfield Inn. So they attract different clientele to different levels. Um, Questions, comments, concerns about that? All right. So benefits of having chains or franchises. The menu is the same. You don't have to think about it. Okay. The quality should be relatively consistent, as should be the level of service. If you're going to go to, I don't know, you're going to go to Wingstop, you kind of have an idea of what it's going to be like, right? What the level of service is going to be, what the flavors are going to be, what the quality of the food is going to be. You have an idea of all of that based on past experiences at that chain. And some people like that. There are some people that when they travel, they don't want to eat at a local independently owned restaurant. They see McDonald's. Yep, I'm going to go eat my McDonald's. Okay. And that's okay. That's why it's there. So, what are some examples or some benefits of franchising? Well, so think about it from the business owner's perspective, not from a guest. So, yes, the benefit of okay. So here's that. Let's flip that. So the benefit of having a franchise is that your guests know what they're going to expect. They know what they're gonna have. There's no guessing. Okay. What else? From a business owner standpoint, what are some benefits of having a franchise? Yes. There's already SOPs. There's already standard operating procedures. I don't have to develop the procedure to make this burger. Why? Because Whataburger is going to give me a plan with pictures and with descriptions, and I'm going to say, here, this is your plan to make this burger. Versus if you are an independent burger restaurant, you have to develop all of that yourself. Okay. What else? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Potentially maybe help with the financing part of it. Now, when you purchase that franchise, it's a big upfront cost because you're buying that franchise. And then you have like annual operating expenses that you have to pay for that. But yeah, they may be able to help with that financing because for them, you're helping get their name out there, right? You may be opening, so McDonald's and Subway, I think, are the two restaurants that are known for franchising. You may be getting a Subway into a town or into what we call a market that it normally wasn't there before. And so you're helping them get that brand. So they may help you with financing. They're going to get their money eventually, but they may help you with that financing. Good. Yes, David. Absolutely. You get that pre-set up plan. This is the menu. This is what you're going to serve. You can't deviate from that. So that is a definite drawback if you are that creative person. It could, though, however, let's say you're a new business owner, it could help give you experience in operating a business. And then maybe you sell that franchise later on and start your own business. So it could help you out in the long run. As far as our fine dining restaurants, we're going to go into different levels of service here, different types of restaurants. We might be looking at our pricing. We might be looking at the decor, the ambiance within the restaurant. I had a student who was, let's say, a pretty rambunctious student. She reminded me of myself, like had a really loud tone of voice, was very excited all the time. And she did her internship at a fine dining restaurant. Well, that was a culture shock, right? When I did my training in a restaurant, I was at TGI Fridays. That's a loud, boisterous environment. How I go to approach a table at TGI Fridays was different than how I approached my tables at Cheesecake Factory. Okay. When I was at TGI Fridays, now granted, this was over 20 years ago, and I had more hair, and the hairstyle was to like put gel in your hair and just like mess it up, right? And that was it. And then you hairspray it, and your hair was just like crazy. My mom hated it, especially if I had highlights in it. But that allowed me, as a server at TGI Fridays, if it was a round plate, like let's say mac and cheese for a kid, I could put that plate on my head because the hair like kept the plate in place, and I could carry all my food out, right? And then I could get the food out to the table, and I'm like, okay, is that it? Everybody all good? And the kid like starts freaking out because they don't have their food, and I'm like, oh wait, hold on, here you go. And so I'd lower it down and like give them their food, right? Or sometimes at TGI Fridays, I'd come to the table. I'm like, hi, my name's David. How can I help you guys? I'm going to take care of you, right? So it's a little bit more casual. I would never do that at Cheesecake Factory, right? I would not have my job for very long if I did that. Um, so let's see what else. Fine dining. So fine dining restaurants typically are a little bit more subdued. Our tone of our voice is a little bit slower, a little bit softer. The lighting is dimmed. There's ambient lighting on the table, right? We are moving slower. We're moving with purpose. We're moving with intention. We are not rushing around. Typically, at a fine dining setting, you can probably expect to spend anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours enjoying your food. It is not a rushed experience. Okay. On the flip side, at Chili's, those people are running around because why? They got to get you in, fed, out, so they can get somebody else in there and make more money. Right. The average check is a lot lower at a Chili's than it is at a fine dining restaurant. So I don't have to get people out of my section because their ticket price is going to be relatively high. And so if they're going to tip 20% on their check, then I'm still going to get my money for that time period. It's just I'm not as rushed. I'm not as stressed. So with the fine dining, it takes a different level of service. It takes a different approach to that service. And sometimes it has to be learned. But the cool thing about it is you can learn it, turn it on while you're at work, and then as soon as you leave, you can just be yourself again. Right. And so my student had to learn that. She had to tone her voice down. Right. She had to be not so excited. She wanted to still be excited when she saw people that she recognized, especially in fine dining settings. People like to be remembered. Thank you. Welcome back. We're so glad you're coming back. Oftentimes, too, with fine dining restaurants, I kind of think about me personally. I kind of think about fine dining restaurants as special occasion restaurants. Right? Because I can't afford to go to them all the time. But if I have a really special occasion, I'm going to go to that restaurant. And so when I'm making a reservation, I may mention, or they may ask me, are you celebrating anything? And if you say, yes, I'm celebrating an anniversary, well, then maybe as you come out with the dessert, it might say happy anniversary on the plate, right? Those attention to details. This one time I went to my parents took me out for my birthday. We went to Maggiano's, one of my favorite Italian restaurants. And I made the reservation. My friend was the director of sales at Maggiano's. And so my mom was like, well, let's go ahead and order the dessert because that's the important part. And so we ordered the chocolate cake that had the cannoli filling and whatnot. And we were ready for the dessert. The dessert was taking a while. My mom was getting a little antsy because she was really excited for this cannoli cake. And she was like, I don't understand. Why is it taking 10 minutes to bring dessert out? I was like, Mom, calm down. It's okay. Right. And so then all of a sudden, here comes the server, and they have a platter that has the cannoli cake in the middle, but it also has a slice of cheesecake, and it also has a slice of this, and it also has the lemon cookies, and it has strawberries on it and fruit. And my dad, he's very clueless most of the time. He was like, how did they know to put this big dessert together? And I said, well, Dad, it's me. And Stephanie made the reservation, my friend Stephanie, who works here. So she probably put a note in the reservation to give me the chef's dessert instead of whatever dessert we ordered. And my mom was like, okay, I guess it's worth the wait to have. I was like, yes, Mom, it is. I was like, just calm down. Everything's going to be okay. But that fine dining experience sometimes just takes a little bit more time. How are we doing on time, speaking of? Okay, we got 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We're good. All right. Themed restaurants. When you hear the word themed restaurant, what do you think about? Who can give me an example of a themed restaurant? Yes. Rainforest Cafe. Yes. I mean, I love Rainforest Cafe. The food's decent. Yeah, you go for the ambiance, right? A lot of theme restaurants, you're paying for the ambiance. Yes. Dick's Last Resort, absolutely. They kind of have changed their mentality a little bit. They've softened their tone over the years, but it used to be relatively inappropriate and crass. Yeah, excellent. What else? Magic Time Machine. That's an independent themed restaurant. One of my friends used to work there. She was Belle from Beauty and the Beast. So she had to act like her while she was giving service. Has anybody never heard of Magic Time Machine? I've actually never been there, but it is a great place to go if you want to have that like in this individual experience. All the servers take on different, they're usually like different actors or musical theater people. So they take on different roles. Diamond as Ace Ventura. Okay, excellent. Nice. Any other themed restaurants that you can think about? Absolutely. I would say Chuck E. Cheese would be. I feel like Chuck E. Cheese is that kind of like entertainment, dining entertainment. So you've got Chuck E. Cheese, Mr. Gaddy's, like Gaddy Land. But then that opens up, I feel like Chuck E. Cheese, Peter Piper Pizza is the kids' version of Andretti's main event, right? So those are more of the adult elevated versions of Chuck E. Cheese and um, Peter Piper Pizza. So yeah, those are definitely themed restaurants. What's that? Incredible Pizza, sure. Is that kind of like Peter Piper Pizza where they have games? What's that? Yeah, there's one in Universal City, where the Walmart used to be. That's how long ago I that used to be a Walmart. That used to that whole sec that where Mr. Gaddy's is and the gym, that used to be a Walmart back in my day before the Forum opened. Yeah. All right. Any other theme restaurants that we can think of? What's that? Medieval Times. Yeah, excellent. Anybody ever been to Medieval Times? You loved it? What? So tell us about the experience. I've only heard about it. I've never been to one before. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like Medieval Times. Awesome. Do you pay extra for the front row seats? Okay. It's worth it. Okay. Cool. If I go and it's not worth it, I'm gonna send you an invoice for the difference. Yeah, so okay, that's cool. And I've heard of that. I went to my choir went to Dallas one time and I didn't get to go with them, but I was ineligible. It's not a great student. Anyways, we're not gonna go there. But they went, they enjoyed it. They talk about eating with their hands. Yeah, awesome, cool. Any other themed restaurants y'all can think about? Chicken on the bone, like they did in medieval times. Before we were civilized and used silverware, before the Renaissance, um, before the Enlightenment. Awesome. I love it. Any other themed restaurants you can think about? Yeah, absolutely. So the Tower of the Americas would definitely be a themed restaurant because you're going for that atmosphere, that experience. Yeah. You know, our Tower of the Americas is getting ready to be closed down for major renovations, like multi-million dollar renovation, and it needs it. It needs it for sure. Say it again. Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't know when they're going to do the renovations, but it's going to close at some point for major renovations. Yes. Say that. I don't know how long the renovation will be. No, but it definitely that building was built in 1968. Um, in Final Destination. Oh, the new one. Okay, I haven't seen the new one yet. The, okay, interesting. Interesting. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. But that's just it's just a dream though, right? That's the whole Final Destination. Ah, that's what it is. um, I showed my other class this. There's a place in Austin called the Sign Bar. I think you do have to be over 21 to go. It is a bar. But essentially, these people have collected these random neon signs, signs from businesses over the years, and they basically just put them all together in this sign bar. And they have it's outdoor space, so they have like cornhole. They've got, I think they do some food, um, but it's really interesting. They have these like little seating areas that are different themes, little alcoves. So yeah, that's like you can just go out there and look at all the nostalgia of all the different signs from over the years. Like there's the little donut guy that used to be. We used to have a Gordo's Donuts on the Riverwalk, but that closed down. But yeah, so that's interesting. That's very very much a themed place. Yeah, so think about like in a theme park. Yeah, all the different restaurants are going to have a specific theme to them. All right, let's talk about celebrity restaurants. So, is there any specific? I know you mentioned the one earlier, but what are some other celebrity-owned restaurants that you can think of? Yeah, Hell's Kitchen. Okay, Gordon Ramsay. What else? It's called what kind of burger? Okay, excellent. And so oftentimes these celebrities are going to put their name on it, right? They'll own it. They have that notoriety. People are going to go to there for that. They may not be the ones who are actually operating it. Of course, they're going to hire somebody to operate their restaurant, but they opened up that restaurant, brings in that notoriety. Good. What else? Okay, a taco shop for who? Danny Trejo. Okay, I'm not familiar. Okay, I'm maybe Tony Parker does have a restaurant. I don't know. We can Google it. You can Google it and find out. Let us know the name of it. I know in Nashville, there's a lot of country western artists that are going to have bars and or restaurants. I know Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood opened Friends in Low Places, their bar in Nashville. Do you have another? What's that? Flavortown Kitchen. Is that Guy Fieri? That sounds like him. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would say it kind of just depends on when the restaurant opens. If it opens early on in your career, it could definitely be like a chef restaurant that becomes a celebrity chef restaurant. Guy Fieri with his Flavor Town, is that in Vegas? Maybe. Okay. I feel like he had like a burger place or something. What's that? Okay. Is it good? A chicken restaurant? Awesome. Okay. Yep. Bobby Flay. Yep. Do I have a favorite? Um, you're asking the wrong person. And the only reason why I say that is because I am just as content eating a 20-piece chicken nugget as I am eating a fine dining steakhouse. Um, I also love food. And so I'm also not the kind of person that's like, I got to go to the most recent chef owned restaurant. I want to wait for like a little bit when it opens to see how it kind of mellows out because everyone's really busy when it first opens. I will say one chef in San Antonio that I really do like. There's quite a few of them, but one chef that I really do like is Chef Leo Davila. He is at the chef. He's a chef at the St. Anthony Hotel, and so he does a lot of fusion with Asian and Mexican. So he's a lot of fusion dishes. He has this really good chicken sandwich on his menu for the coffee shop. It's called Anacacho. Um, and the chicken is like a sweet chili sauce, like an Asian inspired sauce with slaw. It's really good. He also, I went to a whiskey dinner a couple weeks ago where he had a custom menu and he did a hibiscus mole. That was so freaking good. What's that? It was not spicy. It wasn't spicy at all. It with the hibiscus. Like when you have like a hibiscus tea, you have that tartness. So that tartness came through on the mole. It was very tasty. Yeah, so that's one chef that I really do like. So casual dining we talked about already. Family restaurants. Does anybody have a favorite family restaurant here in San Antonio? So Olive Garden, okay. Think about so that's more of a chain. Think about like an independent family owned restaurant. Sammy's? Okay. Castroville as well. Up 90, right? I think. Okay. So Sammy's in Castroville. What? Tony G's would be a family owned restaurant. Yeah. Yeah. Family owned. What's that? I don't think In and Out is family owned. In and Out's going to be more like a chain. They may be independently owned, so like somebody may own that franchise, but it still is considered a chain. So think about something that is more or less. Most family restaurants are independent. What we also maybe might refer to them as mom and pop restaurants. So I would say probably most taquerias are going to be those family owned restaurants. Okay. Yep. Little Red Barn. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example of a family owned restaurant. Yep. Okay. Where is that? Okay. Coriana. How do you spell that? Okay. Korean with an A at the end. That's easy to remember. Excellent. Cool. One of our students, former students, his family owns MK Davis restaurant. It's like a family-owned restaurant, kind of off of San Pedro area ish, kind of over by Sac on that side, San Pedro area. Um, Great like chicken fried steak, onion rings, just kind of good family home cooked food. Um, There's another restaurant I was thinking about. One of our students that owned his her family owns the restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant, but it doesn't have an Italian name. It starts with a G. I'm trying to think of it. It'll come to me, but it's on the west side. It's an Italian restaurant. It was actually I've been there multiple times. It was very tasty. What's that? Basie's. Okay, awesome. So that's seafood, right? Yep, yep. The Purple Pig. Okay, Purple Pig. So family owned restaurant barbecue, right? With those family owned restaurants, sometimes you get that like the family's recipes. So you get that really authentic kind of food, and the menus are really kind of creative and homemade. Yeah, think about homemade. Ethnic restaurants. What are some examples of ethnic? We Korean, obviously. What else? Yep, Salvadorian restaurant. Okay, excellent. We've got a Jamaican food truck here in the class. So Jamaican food. What are some benefits of having ethnic restaurants? Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Gives you exposure to those cultures without having to actually visit. Or maybe if you do visit, like for example, Monshushu, when I eat those escargot at Monshushu, I am transported back to the plaza where I'm looking at Notre Dame Cathedral, eating snails. Um, Escargot sounds so much better. But that butter sauce with the herbs, so good. Um, so yeah, those ethnic restaurants allow us to either transport us back to or give us that experience, and then maybe this is what Korean food's like. Maybe one day I'll plan my trip to go and experience authentic Korean food in that area. We talked about quick service already. Sustainability. So in our industry, sustainability is an issue, especially in the food side. Sometimes there is quite a bit of food waste in our industry. Um, there is an app I am not by any means endorsing this app. I want to say it's called Too Good to Be Through. Too Good to Go. Yeah. I've had mixed results with it. I've had really good, but then I've also had really bad experiences. But it's essentially where, let's say I'm a bakery and I made too many donuts today and they didn't sell, then I can put that on the app and I can sell you a dozen donuts for like $2.50 and you come pick them up, right? So rather than me throwing that food away, I can still sell it at a very discounted price. What's that? Too good to go? Too good to go, yeah. Um, it also, I have seen mixed reviews though. So if you want to see some reviews of the app, join the San Antonio Restaurant Facebook group, and you'll see how many self-proclaimed foodies we have in San Antonio. Um, and they will rip that app apart if they don't feel like they got their money's worth, which is already discounted. I'm like, come on, people, calm down. Um, they're like, this isn't restaurant, this isn't how it would be served normally, and I'm like, that's because you paid $5 for it. How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh, we're 1 minute over. Why didn't y'all say? I saw some of y'all packing up your bags. Um, okay, last thing I do want to say real quick about general trends is oftentimes we're seeing things that are doubled up, right? KFC, Long John Silver's, Taco Bell, three restaurants in one. Okay, it kind of helps with the property. It also helps like managing the food. Also, multiple people. They're all owned by the same people, but they're all coming, and your whole family can have different foods from different menus without having to go to three different restaurants. And the one last trend that I want to mention really quickly is I'm seeing a lot of restaurants in gas stations, right? So when a brand new gas station is built, there's now a Whataburger attached to it, or there's a McDonald's, a Subway, right? But they're actually like standalone restaurants there as well, or even independent restaurants, right? So, anyways, that's it. Thank y'all so much. We'll talk about chapter 7 next week or on Wednesday. We are back on schedule to have class Monday and Wednesdays. Thank you so much.